Yeah, it's been an experience, let me tell you now, and it's not easy. For those people that tell you it's easy and it's, you know, you're gonna be flying high, and I had my moments, guys. I had my moments where I was like, can I do this? Can I actually do this? Hey family, welcome back to a brand new video, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Nadine and I'm a registered midwife here working in the UK. For those that don't know who I am, I've been qualified for about 2 years now, and I've been working as a newly qualified midwife for about a year now. So in today's video, I'll be recapping the year as a newly qualified midwife, telling you guys about my experience on the preceptorship program, what I had to do, what I had to learn, everything that I experienced, the places that I've worked, and also telling you guys about my journey towards the end of my preceptorship program and where I am now currently based after my preceptorship program. So I'll be telling you guys all the tea, discussing everything in great detail. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Grab a seat, grab a drink and get comfortable, because we got a lot to discuss and we got a lot to unpack. So let's get into it. So let me start by telling you guys the areas that I had to work in when I was on the preceptorship program. So I started my preceptorship program around March 8th, and then they gave me my timetable of all the places and all the areas that I had to work in. So I have them all written down here just in case I forget any. So my first rotation area was day assessment unit, which happened for about 3 to 4 weeks, and then after my day assessment period I went to the birth center, and I was in the birth center for about 2 to 3 months. And then after the birth center I went to the Antenatal Clinic, and I was in the Antenatal Clinic for about a week. And after the Antenatal Clinic I went to labor ward, and labor ward I was there for about 4 to 5 months, and that was an interesting experience. So I'll dive into each area after I've listed all the areas I've been to on the preceptorship program. So after labor ward I went to the postnatal ward, which is split half and half. So half is postnatal ward and the other half is antenatal ward. So technically my first rotation had to be postnatal ward, but depending on the activity and how many midwives were on the shift varied where I went. But I was supposed to be on the postnatal ward for about a month and a half or a month and a bit, and then after that go to the antenatal side. But I'll tell you what happened and why I had to do both later on. So after the postnatal ward, then I was moved to the antenatal side, where I then had to do my antenatal rotation. But like I said before, depending on the activity and the staff requirements, I was basically put on either side, and I'll go into more detail later on. So after I finished my antenatal and my postnatal ward rotation, I then had an elective week. So the elective week, we get to choose where we want to be for that week, whether I want to shadow a consultant midwife, whether I wanted to work with a safeguarding team, whether I wanted to go back to antenatal clinic and observe sonographers. So we basically had the choice of basically choosing where we wanted to be that week. And I think that week I chose to be with the safeguarding midwives, and I also wanted to shadow the consultant midwife, but I think she was on annual leave around the time that I had my elective week. So I ended up just being with the safeguarding team for that whole week. So after my elective week I was then moved into the community, where I did community clinic. As you guys may have seen on my Instagram, I did a small reel of a mini vlog of me going to the community for a week, so be sure to add me or follow me on Instagram so you don't miss those kind of content. So yeah, I was in the community clinic for about 5 to 6 weeks, and then after the community clinic I was then finished with my preceptorship program, and then after that I was then based somewhere permanently, and we'll get into all of that a little later on. So let's dive into my first week on the preceptorship program. So I went to day assessment unit for a couple weeks, like I said before. So day assessment unit was it was good. I was very worried about day assessment unit because obviously you get all the high risk women come in with problems, you know, baby's not moving or they're bleeding or there's just, you know, complications. So women come into the day assessment when they have basically complications from triage. So I was a bit, you know, nervous and a bit worried about day assessment because you have to literally know your stuff. If a woman comes in and says she has high blood pressure and baby's not moving, you need to know what you then do and the blood you take and who to escalate to and things like that. But I was fortunate enough to work with a good team in day assessment unit, and they helped me out and they kind of showed me the ropes and showed me what to do. However, there was a day I turned up on day assessment unit and I'm supposed to be not counted in the numbers, but there was a day I literally turned up to work and it was just me on shift. Just me. I was like, so where's the senior midwife? Where's the other midwife that I'm supposed to work with? But yeah, I literally turned up on shift and it was just me. So they had to basically close down day assessment unit and I had to then be moved to triage to work with a triage midwife because it wasn't safe. Imagine a newly qualified midwife running the whole day assessment unit on her orientation period. That's just very, very unsafe. So yeah, that situation happened, but it was quickly resolved. I wasn't left there on my own, even though I was there for like an hour or two on my own, seeing, you know, some women on my own, and I was just running back and forth and asking questions if I had any questions. But they quickly closed down their assessment unit and then I was then moved to triage. But that was my experience with day assessment unit. I loved it. I love the fact that, you know, you saw your women, you did their CTGs, you did their bloods, the doctors saw them, or you know, those that you were able to send home with no doctor seeing them and things like that. There's a lot that I learned in day assessment unit and I really enjoyed my rotation there. However, day assessment unit is only open during the day. It's a Monday to Sunday service, but it's not a 24-hour service, so it's only open during the day, so you can't do any night shifts there, and I love my night shifts. So I was thinking maybe to be placed in day assessment unit wasn't going to be for me because I'm not a morning person. I don't like to always be on days. I like a mixture of both. So yeah, that was my only struggle when I was in day assessment unit, constantly waking up early in the morning to go into work and not having any night shift. That was a struggle, but I really enjoyed my time in day assessment unit. So after day assessment unit, then I went to the birth center. So the birth center is for all the low risk women that are there with no complications. They have no other medical histories. They haven't come in with like reduced fetal movements and things like that. So low risk births, and you know, women that are using the pool births, women that are delivering in all kinds of positions. That was a very different experience for me, I could say, because I'm so used to my CTGs, I'm so used to like Syntos as a student. I was rarely in the birth center as a student, so now being a birth center midwife for those months, I was literally learning everything from scratch. But it was an experience, but I quickly found out that the birth center wasn't going to be for me because I like the assurance and the support that we have on labor ward. I'll get into labor ward and all of that, but I like the assurance of my CTG. I like the assurance that a doctor is just down the corridor. So being a birth center midwife was quickly turning out to be the wrong path for me, but I really enjoyed my time there. I turned up on my shift. I was a supernumerary midwife for about 2 weeks, and what that meant was I was basically not counted in the numbers. I turned up on shift and I was basically working alongside another midwife, and she kind of would show me the ropes and show me like what I needed to do, taught me things, show me how things basically operate on the birth center. So, you know, just to give you guys a backstory, where I'm currently working now is not where I trained. I trained elsewhere, so I was grateful to have the support of midwives that would literally show me, you know, how things worked, where things were kept and things like that, and how they would run things on their birth center. But yes, my birth center experience was great. However, some downsides of working in the birth center was because labor ward, there were times where they were short in numbers. There were staff that weren't in because of the whole COVID thing. There were people, you know, calling in sick because of COVID. Because they had, you know, minimal staff working on labor ward, birth center had to, you know, close down, and they had to basically pull us from birth center to work on labor ward. So there were times where I would be called to come down to labor ward and to work on labor ward. And bearing in mind, I hadn't had my rotation period on labor ward as of yet. So basically the first couple of times they tried to pull me down, I was like to them, I haven't had my rotation, so I can't work there. And they were understanding. They were like, okay, you go back up to birth center and work there, and then send someone else, like another midwife that's worked on labor ward before, rather than myself go. But there were times where I just had to go there because literally there was no one else, because we were short on the birth center, and I was literally the only one that was able to go down. So yeah, I had to experience going down to labor ward and actually working there for the first time, and being counted in numbers because they were short. And that was a struggle for me. Literally, I struggled. I was so nervous. I was so anxious. Like, I was there thinking, I don't know where anything is. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what to do. I haven't been on labor ward as a qualified midwife in like forever, in like never. So that was a very scary experience, but I had a lot of support when I was down there. They were like, I know you're not, you know, I know you haven't worked here, so we're going to help you if you have any questions. If you don't know what anything is, if you don't know what to do, just ask us. So I had support, but I felt like that shouldn't have happened. Like, I shouldn't have been put there if I didn't have my orientation there. But yeah, that happened. We moved on. That was a quick way of learning. I learned things a lot quicker by being pushed out of my comfort zone and being put in an area I've never worked in. So that was a very quick way of learning and quick way of adjusting. So yeah, so after my birth center experience, I quickly found out that the birth center just wasn't for me. I like my doctors around, and I like my CTGs, and I like my Syntos, and I like my epidural. So birth center midwife just wasn't for me. So after the birth center rotation, I was then moved on to the antenatal clinic for a week. So antenatal clinic, the hours were basically Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and I was basically, for my 2 days there, I was basically sitting into a clinic and watching another midwife, how she runs her clinic and how things would run and what they needed to do when they were in clinic and things like that. So my first 2 days I was basically observing and just helping out with like obs and things like that. And then my last 3 days on the antenatal clinic, I was then hands-on. I think I did an anti-D clinic where I was just basically giving women anti-D, and I also ran one of my clinics. Like on the last day, I actually had a clinic of like women that I could handle. They just gave me like a list of women to see. So it was quite fun. It was a good learning experience. But then I also quickly learned that antenatal clinic and being a 9 to 5 midwife wasn't for me. It was quite slow paced, very repetitive. Yeah, antenatal clinic wasn't for me, and I quickly just, you know, had my experience, had my time there, and I just kept it moving to my next area. So the next area I then went to was the postnatal ward. Like I said before, the postnatal ward is split with the antenatal ward. So you have one half is the antenatal ward and the other half is the postnatal ward. I think most hospitals are designed like that. So on my first day of working on the postnatal ward, I was actually a supernumerary midwife. Like I said before, supernumerary means you're not counted in numbers. You're there to basically learn and be orientated and not to be counted in the numbers. So I arrived on my first day on the postnatal ward, and the manager was like, yeah, we're short, you're gonna have to just take women and, you know, look after women. I was like, but this is my first day, this is my supernumerary period. She's like, yeah, I'll give you that time back so you can have your supernumerary time back. And I was like to her, but can I not just have this first day as my supernumerary and then I'll be counted in numbers another day? She was like, no, we're really short, so if you can help us out, that'll be great. So obviously I didn't want to seem like a very unreasonable person. I didn't want to make a bad first impression, so I was just like, you know what, she said she's gonna give me the time back, so let me just do it. So my first day on the postnatal ward, I was actually given like women to look after, and I was actually counted in the numbers, which shouldn't have happened, but like I said, it's a quick way of learning. Things happen, there's high activity on the ward, there's short staff, you just have to kind of, you know, muck in, even though ideally it's not how things should go. But that was my experience on my first day on the postnatal ward. The second day on the postnatal ward, I was actually supernumerary. I wasn't counting the numbers. I was assigned to another midwife. I worked alongside her. She showed me around. She gave me a tour of the ward, told me where everything is and things like that, and showed me how to do documentation and all of that stuff. So the hours on the postnatal ward are basically 12-hour shifts. So you do your long days or nights in 12-hour shifts. We start either at 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. or you start at 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. So it's a 12-hour shift. You do about 3 days a week, and then you do the odd 1 week where you do 4. So that was basically the shift pattern and the hours that we did on the postnatal ward. So after the postnatal ward, I was then moved on to the antenatal side, where I did my antenatal rotation. So when you get moved from place to place, you need to be a supernumerary midwife. So on the antenatal rotation, when I was moved to the antenatal side, I was given 2 weeks supernumerary, and this time I wasn't taking no for an answer, because antenatal is a lot harder than the postnatal side. So when I came on shift, I made sure and I made it known that I was a supernumerary midwife, because I wasn't gonna be, oh no, we're too busy, and I didn't want to hear none of that. I'm here for my supernumerary time, and I made sure I got my supernumerary time. So I got my whole 2 weeks supernumerary time on the antenatal side, because there's a lot more high risk and there's a lot more involved on the antenatal side compared to the postnatal side. So I made sure that I got my supernumerary time. So I got my supernumerary time. I basically worked with another midwife. She basically showed me how things, you know, worked, showed me where things were, how to see the women, how to document and all of that, how to do inductions and everything. So she showed me everything, so that when my supernumerary time was up, I was then capable and I was competent to do my job. So I was thankful that I put my foot down and I told my manager, like, I was like, no, this is my supernumerary time and I have to do my supernumerary time, and if I don't do my supernumerary time today, I will claim my supernumerary time another time after my supernumerary week has finished. So yeah, I put my foot down and I said, this is my supernumerary time and I am going to get it, because now that I've had my supernumerary time, I'm very much confident and competent in working on the antenatal side, and I'm not as anxious and I'm not as nervous as I was when I first started. So yeah, that was my antenatal rotation / experience. So after my antenatal experience or rotation, I was then allocated to have my elective week. So during our elective week, we basically plan it ourselves. We have to email the person or the department that we want to work with or work in. So I basically wanted to shadow the consultant midwife, because it was something that I was interested to see what she does on a day-to-day basis, you know, just to see the life of a consultant midwife. However, sadly for me, the consultant midwife was on annual leave the week I was supposed to have my elective week. So I was then basically deciding to go somewhere else. So I basically picked to go to work with the safeguarding team and work with the safeguarding midwives. So I worked in the safeguarding midwives for about 3 days on my preceptorship week. So they work in 9 to 5 kind of basis, Monday to Friday. So I worked with them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday, Friday, I then went to the Antenatal Clinic and I observed the sonographers and what they did. So that week was very interesting. It was very insightful and very like educative. And also another reason why I picked to go and work with the safeguarding team was because when I was a student, I really wanted to be a safeguarding midwife when I was qualified. So I wanted to see whether I had the same energy and the same dream to be a safeguarding midwife, and I can tell you now, it's not for me, because safeguarding midwives are literally amazing. they have so much on their plate. They have a lot of paperwork, they have a lot of meetings to attend. They are literally amazing midwives, and I feel like they have a lot on their plates in terms of the caseloads that they actually have. So when I was with them, I was so overwhelmed. There was just a lot that they had to deal with, and there was a lot that they had to do. So I quickly found out that being a safeguarding midwife, maybe right now isn't for me. Maybe later on in life when I've kind of like experienced everything and seen everything. But for me right now, to be a safeguarding midwife is a no for me, because I don't think I can hack the caseload that they have. I don't think I could do what they do. I feel like they do a great job. They do amazing work for these women, and I feel like, yeah, I'm not in the right mind frame. I feel like I won't, you know, have the capabilities to do what they do right now. I feel like they have a lot on their plate and a lot that they need to juggle in terms of their caseload. So I quickly found out that I wasn't able to do that or fulfill that right now, and also work a Monday to Friday kind of basis and on call and things like that. So yeah, I quickly found out that being a safeguarding midwife wasn't for me right now. Maybe later on in life when I decide that I can take on the caseloads and take on what they do. So after my elective week, I was then moved on to the community team where I was part of the community midwives. So basically I wasn't doing any house calls or, you know, postnatal checks at home. I was basically in the community clinic. So I was in the community clinic for about 5 weeks, and it was a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 kind of basis. So I was waking up early in the morning, getting to work for 9 a.m. to start my clinic at 9 in the morning. So that was a very big struggle for me. So I only had 2 days off. I had my Saturday off and I had my Sunday off, but my Sunday is basically preparing to go back into work Monday. So the whole shift pattern for clinics and community clinics was crazy to me. I don't think I can do 9 to 5 right now as I am, because I really struggled going to work every single day. But I managed the whole 5 weeks. I made it to work every single day. So being a community midwife working in the clinic doing bookings, so basically I was doing bookings. I wasn't seeing women postnatally. I was seeing women basically doing their booking when they find out they're pregnant, and I was basically gathering up all the information or the medical history and everything else, and basically booking them so that they have their scans and other appointments. So that was my job for 5 weeks. So it was interesting. I learned a lot, and I actually understood what goes into a booking and why everything is so necessary. Because, you know, I tend to see them postnatally when they've had the baby or in labor when they're about to have the baby. So I was seeing them at the first point of call, and I was the midwife that was in charge of making sure that I got every single detail and that I made sure that I made all the necessary referrals, you know, right away when I saw these women when they came to get booked. So yeah, so booking was interesting, but then I quickly realized I was not made to be a community booking midwife. Maybe later on in life, when I have the capabilities to do a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. But as of now, I like my shift pattern. I like my long days, I like my nights. So yeah, so community booking appointment experience was great, and I learned a lot. So after I finished my community rotation, so that was literally my last orientation that I had to do of my preceptorship program, and then I was basically done with my preceptorship rotation. So after, like, on my last week, I emailed my manager. I was like, I'm about to finish my last part of my orientation. Where am I going to be based? And I also asked her if I could be based somewhere, and to see whether I will get it or not. But I will go into that a little later on when I reveal where I'm actually based. But yeah, after my community placement, that's basically what I did. I emailed my manager letting her know that I had finished my orientation and asking her where I would be based, and also putting myself forward for a particular area that I wanted to be based in permanently. But yeah, that was basically my rotation as a preceptorship midwife and all the areas that that I basically had to work in. I worked in all the areas in maternity, and I did everything, saw everything, and towards the end of my rotation I was basically, you know, feeling prepared and ready to basically start working as a fully fledged midwife that is no longer on the preceptorship program. I was feeling competent, I was feeling happy, and I was feeling ready. So I'm very grateful for this preceptorship program that they've designed for us newly qualified midwives. I feel like it helps a lot. It helps bridge the gap from student to qualified midwife. And if you're able to join a preceptorship program, please do, because I feel like it helps a lot, and it helps prepare you to become the midwife you need to be in order to deliver the high standard of care that you need to deliver. So that's one thing I took away from being on the preceptorship program, that it's an amazing program that basically helps newly qualified midwives or nurses or any other healthcare professionals that is allowed to have a preceptorship time or period while they are transitioning from student to qualified professional. So let me quickly talk about the skills that I have gained whilst on the preceptorship program. So let me start by each area. So on the day assessment unit, I learned skills like Dawes-Redmond criteria and all of that. Never used to use that as a student midwife, and we had a completely different program where I trained. So that was a new skill that I picked up, using the Dawes-Redmond criteria and why we use it, and which type of women we use it on, and when not to use it, and things like that. I also learned things like bloods to take. So if a woman came in with raised blood pressure or with symptoms of PET, I knew that I had to then take PET bloods and what bottles I needed and how to print them out, how to fill them in. So those essential skills I quickly learnt when I was in day assessment unit. Also how to call doctors, bleep doctors, and how to hand over to doctors in the day assessment unit. I quickly learnt and picked up that skill, which is a very, very important skill. Where else did I go? So in labour ward, I also learnt other skills, a lot of skills on labour ward. So let me just list them quickly. So on labour ward, I learnt skills such as setting up an epidural and how I communicate with the anaesthetist in terms of handing over information about the woman before she does the epidural, the epidural equipment, the medication, signing it in and signing it out in the drug book. What else did I learn? I also learned how to start syntocinon when a woman is on synto. I learned how to set that all up, how to sign for it, how to correctly manage a woman that is on synto and all of that stuff, because I never did that as a student. So you literally do that whilst you're qualified. So I picked up that skill very, very fast, and it was very you know, it was very easy to do. I thought it was something that was very, very complicated to do, but it was quite easy. Once you start doing it, it's like, you know, easy peasy stuff. So I learned how to do that. What else did I learn how to do? So epidural, synto, handovers. I learned how to do handovers when they're doing the drug round, when they're doing the ward round on the wards on labour ward. Learned how to do that. Learned how to document. That was a big thing, because when I qualified, everything was done by paper. We used to write everything down when I was a student. So once I qualified and I started working as a newly qualified midwife, everything was done on the computer. So I had to learn how to document everything via, you know, the computer and everything like that. That was also hard to kind of get my head around, but I quickly picked up the skill on how to order bloods, how to document, where to document, and all of that. Managed to get that done. What other skills did I learn? Let's move on to the postnatal side. I learned how to give blood, when to give blood. I learned how to do the assessments and how they do the assessment at the new hospital. I learned how to discharge women. I learned that all over again. Yeah, there was a lot of skills that I picked up while I was in each rotation. I learned how to book a woman on my own. What else? I learned how to do referrals if a woman needed a safeguarding referral, or if they needed a specialist diabetic referral. All the referrals I learned how to do. So yeah, there was a lot of skills that I basically learned within this whole year of being on my preceptorship program that I basically picked up on, and I learned in each area that I was in, and yeah, everything is basically in the head, and I kind of know what I'm doing. If I ever do a shift on labour ward, if I ever do a shift on day assessment unit, I can literally just get involved and do what I need to do because I learnt everything on each area. What else? I feel like I'm missing something out. Oh, I learned how to do sections, work in theatre, you know, the theatre etiquette and all the techniques that I need to learn for theatre. I learned all those skills. So yeah, there's a lot of skills that I learned while I was on the preceptorship program. So let's talk about some of the challenges that I faced while on the preceptorship program, or the year that I've been working as a newly qualified midwife. Some of the challenges I've already mentioned before. So one of the challenges was when I was a supernumerary midwife and I would come on shift and we were short-staffed, and I basically was counted in numbers even though I was supposed to be supernumerary, and I was basically thrown into the deep end. So that was one of my major challenges when I was rotating in each area. Another challenge would be another challenge, just the shortness of staff and the lack of staff really didn't help me while I was rotating and trying to grasp everything, because obviously if there's like 4 midwives on labour ward, you're gonna have to dive in there, and there's things that you're gonna have to kind of do on your own and kind of figure out. So that are the two main challenges that I faced while I was actually on the process of learning everything, and while I was on the preceptorship program. So those are the two major ones that affected everything that I did. So yeah, okay, so let's talk about my favorite areas while I was on my rotation time. So my favorite areas while I was rotating had to be labour ward if we were fully staffed. I really enjoyed my labour ward rotation, even though I was scared. I was so anxious about going there, but after, you know, learning everything and getting into the swing of things, I actually enjoyed my labour ward rotation, or my labour ward area. I also enjoyed my postnatal ward and antenatal ward rotation area because of the team. Everyone kind of helps each other on that, you know, ward. The team are amazing. I made a lot of friends on the postnatal ward and things like that. So I really enjoyed those two areas, which were labour ward and my postnatal and antenatal rotation. So they were really amazing. And also day assessment unit, I also enjoyed it there, even though I didn't have that much time on there because it was constantly closed, because I would literally be the only midwife there and things like that. But those are the 3 areas that I enjoyed the most, which were labour ward, postnatal antenatal ward and day assessment unit. So also while I was on my preceptorship program, let me just add that we're not actually allowed to be mentors or mentor any students or work with students, because obviously we're trying to figure it out ourselves. So while I was actually, you know, orientating and moving around, I didn't have a student. But there were some days where a student will come on shift and her mentor's not in, and they're literally looking at me like, can you work with the students? I am never the one to be like, no, I don't want to work with the student. Like, I'm happy to work with students. We can kind of work it out and figure it out together. So there were times where I would be asked by the coordinator or the midwife in charge or the manager, and they will ask me to work with the student because there was literally no one else there available to work with students. So there were, you know, the odd day where I worked with a student, and me and the student were basically kind of, you know, working together, figuring it out together, and that was great fun. And now that I am actually not on the preceptorship program, I have worked with students, and that is also an experience. I'm learning how to like sign books, and it's super weird. It's super weird. They're giving me their books to sign their hours, they're giving me their books to sign their competencies, and it's literally super scary. But, and it's super, not scary, but it's super weird, because obviously just like yesterday I was also a student and I was giving people my book to sign, and now I have students coming to me and asking me to sign their books and things like that. So yeah, it's very, you know, it's new, it's very new, but I have enjoyed working with the students that I've worked with so far, and funny enough, some of them have actually seen my YouTube channel before they actually came to work with me, and they were like, oh, we've seen your YouTube channel and things like that. So that was another super weird moment, because I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have seen me on YouTube and now you're here in front of me and I'm now your mentor. So like the stakes are really high. But yeah, no, that was super weird, but but it was super nice to like kind of have like my YouTube family out on placement with me and out on work with me. So yeah, that was something new, something interesting. But yeah, those that know themselves if you're watching this video. But yeah, so that's basically been my experience while I was on the preceptorship program, and I can tell you now, it's been an experience. It was hard work, but I survived and I made it through. I also did a previous video, I'll link it in the description box below and also on the screen. I also mentioned that I became a band 6 after 6 months. So 6 months into my preceptorship program, I was able to finish the competencies that I needed in order for me to become a band 6. So I did those competencies within those 6 months, and I was given my band 6 title, or band 6 promotion, and yeah, so I became a band 6 like 6 months into my preceptorship program. But it didn't mean I was no longer a preceptee. I still had to finish my preceptorship for the year, but for the rest of the 6 months that I had, I was being paid as a band 6, even though I was still under the umbrella of a preceptee midwife. So yeah, that's something else that I shared with you guys in a previous video. Be sure to go and check that out if you haven't checked that out already. But yeah, I thought I would just mention that in this video quickly, now that we're having a recap of the year I've had. So yeah, I'm trying to think if I've missed out anything or if there's anything else that I need to share with you guys. But yeah, this year of being qualified has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much, I've seen so much, and I've experienced so much, and I've been working for years, but it's only been a year. But yeah, it's been an experience, let me tell you now. And it's not easy. For those people that tell you it's easy and it's, you know, you're gonna be flying high, and I had my moments, guys. I had my moments where I was like, can I do this? Can I actually do this? I had my moments where I had anxiety going into work. I had my moments where I was struggling at work and I couldn't, you know, deal with being there. And I had my ups, I had my downs, and all my up days were literally amazing. The people I work with are amazing. Let me touch on like friendship and how I dealt with, like, you know, meeting new people. So like I said before, it was a new trust that I'm working in. I didn't train there, so everybody was new to me. Everybody was literally new to me. But from the moment I started working there, everybody was super friendly, and I had the mindset that I'm gonna be friendly. I'm not gonna be all stuck up, and then I'm not gonna be all like mean faced and, you know, and all of that stuff. I told myself that I'm gonna be friendly to everybody, even those that are not friendly or they'll have a friendly face. I'm gonna be friendly to everybody, yeah. And that's basically what I did. I was friendly to everybody, and I made some friends, guys. I have some new friends. I have some friends that I made. So yeah, it's been a good time. It's been a good time. Like, my good days outweigh the bad days, for sure. That's for sure. My good days outweigh the bad days, and I've just made some amazing memories while on my preceptorship journey. And let's move on to after finishing my preceptorship program and where I'm based. So I finished my preceptorship program, like I said, after I did my community rotation. Emailed my manager. I was like, I'm coming to the end of my rotation, where will I be based? And then I suggested that she would base me on the postnatal ward. That was what I wanted to be. So I liked the postnatal ward so much, I liked the team there so much, that I actually put myself forward and requested to work on the postnatal ward. Luckily enough for me, she emailed me back straight away and she said, hi Nadine, you will be based on the postnatal ward. I was literally like, yes. I was literally jumping in my brain. So yeah, I am based on the postnatal ward / antenatal ward. I am officially a postnatal / antenatal ward midwife. So that's basically where I am based full time. I go to work every day knowing that's where I'll be and things like that. So yeah, I'm officially a postnatal antenatal ward midwife, and that's where I am based. And and that is where I requested. Sometimes people got their requests, so I started with a few other newly qualified midwife, and they requested to go somewhere and they didn't get the spot because maybe it was high in demand. There was, you know, they were fully staffed and they didn't need any more midwives in that area. So some people were declined that option to be where they wanted to be based, but luckily for me, I requested somewhere in the right time when they was looking for midwives to actually be allocated there. I think that's what helped me because they were kind of short-staffed. So yeah, I got where I kind of requested. Some others also got where they requested, and obviously others didn't. And also, because I told you guys that I like my labor ward experience, I'm also doing like bank shifts and things like that on the labor ward so that I don't forget my skills, so that I can, you know, continue to remember how to deliver a baby and how to do my CTG, how to do my Synto, how to do my epidural. So I'm not I'm never not on the labor ward. I do labor ward shifts, but that's my choice and on my time. So that's when I decide to pick up a bank shift. I would do a bank shift on the labor ward rather than do a bank shift on the postnatal ward or antenatal ward, because I want to keep up with my skills, make sure that I'm not rusty in that area when it comes to delivering babies. So yeah, that's basically where I am based, and you know who I am now. I'm now a postnatal / antenatal midwife. And I do part-time or on the side labor ward when I have the time to. So yeah, that is basically my year, or my recap of the year that I've had as a newly qualified midwife on the preceptorship program, and that's basically where I am based now that I'm finished and I'm no longer on the preceptorship program. So yeah, it's been a year. I hope this video has been helpful for you guys and you guys got some insight on what actually happens and where you go and what you do and things like that. If you guys want a more in-depth or you know, a part 2 of this video, please do let me know. Also comment below with all your questions. Follow me on Instagram if you guys have any questions. Like, my DMs are open to you guys. I can help you with anything you guys want. Well, if I can anyway. My DMs are open. Ask me all your questions that you need answering. But yeah, this video was fun to film. I literally just went down memory lane. But yeah guys, that is it for today's video. I will definitely be seeing you guys in the next video very soon. But be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Also hit the thumbs up on this video. It helps me out a lot and it helps people, you know, view my videos, and it reaches a wider range of people or audience when you guys hit that thumbs up button. So please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be seeing you guys in my next video, which is coming out very soon. So until then guys, bye.